What's up YouTube? Today we're taking a look at some of the best Electro decks that you can build in Marvel Snap. Now Electro is a pretty unique card because it has a huge potential payoff but also a huge drawback. So it makes sense to build much of our deck around it. And if you're just starting out in Series 3 and unlocked Electro very early on, you can already build some fairly solid and strong decks right away. This is the best deck that I could come up with personally. As you can see, it plays a lot of expensive cards to make full use of the extra mana that Electro gives us. Additionally, we can also get rid of the Electro ongoing debuff by playing Enchantress into the same location. Also, if we don't find Electro early on, we have Jubilee as a plan B, either pulling out one of these big cards or a card like Electro himself. We also play the infamous Sunspot and Infinite combo. This allows us to pass on turn 4 or 5, still soak up that mana, buff Sunspot, and still be able to play Infinite for the full 20 power later on down the line. The other big power plays here are of course Devil Dinosaur, synergizing with our early game of Agent 13 and Cable. And we also play a bit of an on-reveal package here with White Tiger as well as Gamora, heavily benefiting from being reactivated by Odin as well. Same can be said for Jubilee, pulling out another card from our deck. And if we have Devil Dinosaur on board, playing Odin as a finisher, reactivating Agent 13 and Cable can also buff the Dino quite a bit. So this is already a pretty cool and solid start with Electro, but a more refined version of this can look a little something like this Electro ramp deck right here. This one is taken straight off of Marvel Snap Zone's meta tier list, where it is classified as a tier 2 deck, so should definitely be a great choice for climbing, and it's also still competitive even in the infinite ranks. The coolest addition here is Wave as an additional ramping tool, allowing us to play some of these other big cards quite early on if we don't find Electro early. This one also plays Sandman as an experimental disruptive tag. This can be pretty good in a meta where a lot of people play cards like Silver Surfer and Sarah. Definitely an experimental choice that can also be exchanged with a card like Lizard. So I'd say the only really essential cards in this deck are Electro and Wave. It's also nice to have some of these high quality finishers like Aero or Leader or a Doctor Doom. Especially in this version of Electro Ramp, Doctor Doom is quite cute because we can play greedy cards like Ebony Maw, which would usually have the huge setback of locking us out of a location, but we can still reach these locations with cards like Claw and Doctor Doom. Also, Doctor Doom makes for some great Odin synergy. So if, for example, we go Wave on turn 3, Doctor Doom on turn 4, we can reactivate that Doctor Doom later down the line with an Odin on turn 6. Magneto is somewhat replaceable in this deck, but also a cool disruptive card besides Aero. So the idea here is to not fall too far behind in the early game because we play strong cards like Ebony Maw and Sunspot, and then ramp quickly into our big finishers while disrupting our opponent with cards like Sandman, Aero, and Magneto. Moving on, another really strong Electro deck that you can play is the Galactus combo. Unfortunately, it's a very expensive deck. It needs a lot of Series 3 as well as 2 Series 5 cards. I don't have all of them yet, so I'm showing them to you on marvelsnapzone.com. The idea is to basically give up the early game, have Electro or Wave be a ramp tool, and then blow up everything with Galactus, only compete for the one location that is left in the game. At the same time, blowing up all of the early game at the other locations ideally also discounts death a lot and gives Knull a lot of power. If that's not enough, we can also be really annoying and disrupt our opponent with cards like Dr. Octopus filling the only lane that is left, and then following up with Shang-Chi on the final turn to weed out the big cards and only leave small stuff. Destroyer is in here as a cool plan B if we don't find Galactus early on, another good way of blowing up Electro or some other cards like Ebony Maw and Lizard, getting rid of the negative ongoing effects while still preserving the power in a way by playing Knull later on or Death as a discounted card. Also a very strong deck all the way up to infinite ranks, has a lot of surprise value, also a lot of tech choices, it's quite flexible in how it can be built. But like I said, Galactus is a very essential card here, and he is Series 5, so a lot of players won't have the privilege of playing him early on. And I want to finish off this video with a bit of a more fun list that is not quite as competitive, but can be super disruptive to your opponent, and in certain metas it can be very strong as well. The idea here is to give our opponent Electro with a card like Viper ideally. That means that we still keep the +1 max energy on reveal effect, but our opponent basically gets a one-sided Sandman debuff. Of course, this won't always work out, so we also need some other garbage that we can give our opponent with Viper. The hood qualifies perfectly well as the rocks that we get from debris. We can further fill our opponent's board space with Black Widow as well as Green Goblin. Polaris can also manipulate their stuff, Magneto as well, shuffling stuff around, just filling up locations and clogging them. And we can then steal the game with some big power bombs with Gamora, playing into the only location our opponent has left. We know they'll play there. Dr. Octopus can either be played into a location that is already full, or can be used to fill up one of the few location slots that our opponent has left. This deck list gains some popularity in the Leech Leader meta. Leader decks usually want a fair bit of board space to be able to copy cards with Leader. This deck kinda countered them in a way, but I will say I haven't played this archetype a lot. I'm not sure if this list is perfectly refined, but there is some potential here, and the deck is also just kind of fun to play. So feel free to try to improve this deck and tweak it to your current needs and the current meta that you're running into. But yeah, these are the best, the most common, as well as the coolest Electro decks that I could think of. Let me know if you think I forgot something in the comments below. Also, if you think this video helped, if you want to see more similar stuff, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting out more videos like this, and I hope to see you here again soon.